Hi there, this is Chris, Chap in the Cup Moto Legends. Today I'm going to be talking to you about an interesting new suit from the German brand Held. It's called the Savona. And don't forget, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. Many people know Moto Legends for brands like Rucker, Stadler and Klim, brands that are very much associated with laminated membranes. Now for some people, laminated gear is the way to go. Indeed, for people who do huge miles in all weathers, it may be the only way to go. And if you're the kind of rider who really needs laminated gear, you'd almost certainly be better off with something with a Gore-Tex laminated membrane. And that's because getting laminated gear to do its job reliably is not easy. Now, most brands cut corners. In order to undercut the premium brands, they make laminated gear on the cheap. And as a result, most laminated gear has a high propensity to fail. Now, you may get through the warranty period, but within a few years, most laminated garments will start to leak. And at that point, you'll be on your own. Buy a jacket or a pant with a Gore-Tex laminated membrane by contrast, and the waterproofing will be guaranteed for life. And with Gore, it really will be. But this having been said, most bikers do not need laminated clothing, even though many motorcyclists have convinced themselves that they do. Now, for most people, drop liner gear is actually the better option. Just to head off any misunderstanding here, drop liner membranes, by the way, are not removable. They are sewn permanently into the garments. In fact, on a jacket, they're sewn into the shoulders. In a pant, they're sewn into the waist, and they just hang there. That's why they're called drop liner garments. Now, because of the way they're constructed, drop liner garments deliver a number of benefits. They are more comfortable because the outer chassis is less stiff, which is what happens when you laminate a membrane to a fabric. So a laminated garment is stiffer because when you bond this membrane on, it just makes the fabric less pliable. Drop liner garments are warmer because you benefit from an additional air gap between the outer material and the membrane. Drop liner garments are just as waterproof as laminated ones, but most importantly, drop liner garments almost never fail. They are so simple to make that there's really not a lot that can go wrong, which is why for 95% of motorcyclists, we reckon that drop liner garments represent the better option. And so why, you might ask, do so many people believe that laminated gear is better? Well, that's partly down to people not differentiating between better in some circumstances and better in all circumstances, and partly down to ignorance, often brought about by clueless retailers whose understanding of such matters can be woefully lacking. Now, not long ago, I interviewed for a position in the shop here, I interviewed a manager from one of the larger multiples. I asked him what he understood to be the main difference between a drop liner membrane and a laminated one. Now, he paused for a while, clearly a little bit confused, before stating that laminated garments were easier to clean. I mean, honestly. It's true, nonetheless, as we have suggested, that there are some potential benefits to laminated clothing. Now, laminated garments will not wet out. Now, wetting out can occur after you've been riding, I don't know, for 4 or more hours in heavy rain. It's where a garment has become totally sodden and soaking wet. Now, this is often confused with a situation where a jacket becomes damp after, I don't know, an hour or two in the rain. That emphatically is not wetting out. That is your jacket getting a bit damp. But in theory, laminated gear will never actually wet out. And that's because the membrane is bonded to the inside of the outer fabric, so water cannot pass through it. So is that better? Well, in some circumstances, potentially. But its advantage will only apply to very few of us, and that's because rarely will many of us find ourselves riding for 4 or more hours in heavy rain. Now, laminated garments also dry out faster. That's another advantage. There's another advantage too. Laminated gear vents better because when you open the vent, the airflow will flow directly through to the body without having to pass through a membrane. But in truth, that will only make a difference when you're riding at speed on a bike without a fairing. But you will pay dearly for the benefits of laminated gear. It is, as we've suggested, less comfortable. It is less warm. And unless you've paid a significant premium for something with a Gore-Tex laminated membrane, the chances are that at some point it will fail and let you down, a point that will often be much sooner than you might have hoped. Now, all of this constitutes a typically overlong and overly complicated Moto Legends introduction to the Held Savona suit, which by now you might have guessed comes with a drop liner membrane. Let's talk about the jacket first, obviously. Now, the outer shell of the Savona jacket is made from a 600 denier Cordura-style fabric. Now, that tends to make for a lighter jacket. It's a fairly lightweight fabric and potentially therefore a very comfortable one. But if this comfort, if this lightness doesn't compromise abrasion resistance, then there's no trade-off, because comfort obviously is always important. And it would appear that there isn't a trade-off here. The jacket is rated AA for abrasion resistance under EN 17092, which is as good as it gets in a jacket with a Gore-Tex membrane. Now, actually, there is a Gore-Tex jacket with a AAA rating out there, but it is so cumbersome that you really wouldn't want to ride in it. Now, abrasion resistance, of course, it's only half of the protection equation, and we would argue that potentially it's the less important half. The other consideration is impact protection, and here it's good to know that the Savona comes with level 2 protectors in the shoulders and in the elbows. The back protector is not included, which it's not included with many jackets, but we would actually recommend the new level 2 protector from Rheon, which is barely any heavier than most level 1 back protectors. The jacket comes with a removable thermal liner. Now, it clips into the jacket as part of a system that's been developed by Held for all of its removable thermal and waterproof liners. Personally, we would always prefer a thermal liner that wore separately, but so be it. The liner, it has to be said, is nothing to write home about, but I suppose it's no worse than those you find in some rucker jackets. Basically, the liner is there just so that the manufacturer can tick a box. Will it take the chill out of a colder day? Yes, certainly it will, but it's no down jacket. Now, the Savona sits a little bit longer. In fact, Held does a shorter, sportier version of the Savona, but we reckon that the longer one would work better for most of our customers. There are Velcro adjusters at the natural waist and on the biceps. Velcro is also used to adjust the collar and the sleeve ends. Now, to aid comfort, you get stretch inserts that run down the inside of the arms and under the armpits. You also get some concertina banding behind the elbows. In terms of venting, there are incoming vents on the shoulders and outgoing ones in the back of the jacket. There's also a system that allows you to ride with a vented panel that runs down the full length of the main zip. Now, pockets, I would say, aren't a strong point on the Savona. There are 2 external pockets that Held are terming waterproof, but I don't think you should rely on that. Best to think of them as highly water resistant. There's one more pocket inside the jacket, and Held tell us that the jacket also has a matte pocket, but we sure as hell can't find it. To complete the package, you get some reflective detailing on the jacket, and there's a zip that allows the jacket to be connected to the pants. Now, one of the reasons that we really like Held as a brand is that they do their gear in lots of sizes, and we'll see that particularly when we come on and look at the trousers. But even the jacket comes in 9 sizes and goes up to a 6XL. So in our view, there won't be many people who cannot be accommodated in the Savona. Anyway, let's now go on and talk about the lower half. Talking about jackets is interesting. Well, at least we find it to be. Trousers perhaps less so. And that's partly because the trousers tend to mirror the matching jacket in most respects. So what can we say about the Savona pants? In truth, as expected in all matters relating to materials and construction, the pant does match the jacket. So you get the same 600 denier outer fabric, you get a drop liner membrane, you get an AA rating for abrasion resistance under EN 17092, you get level 2 armour in the hips and knees, strategically placed stretch panels, concertina banding on the knees, reflective bits, a connecting zip and so on. Now, interestingly, there's no thermal liner with the pant, but I've got to say that's not that unusual. You may just have to invest in some merino leggings for the winter. Now you get 2 upper pockets, a slip panel, or rather an anti-slip panel in the seat, zips and Velcro pads at the end of the legs to allow them to go over a wider boot. But as we have mentioned, one of the things that we really like about Held is the number of sizes that their pants in particular come in. The jacket, as we've discussed, comes in 9 sizes, but the matching pant comes in no less than 19. Now, back in the day, everybody did short and long leg trousers for their suits. Indeed, people like Rucker and Halvarsons even did extra short legs for those whose tummies had grown but who hadn't experienced a corresponding increase in their height. But these days, Held is one of the few companies to offer a fully comprehensive range of sizes. Now, with some trousers, they still offer extra short legs, but unfortunately with the Savona, all we get is a regular short and long leg, which, it's got to be said, is still way better than 95% of the brands out there. Now, many of the brands reckon that they can reduce their costs by offering only 2 leg lengths. Some, including denier, think they can get away with just 1. But we have to think that that's a false economy because it just makes it far harder to sell their suits. And indeed, we usually refuse to list suits where the trousers only come in 1 leg length. So I have to ask, is reducing your number of leg lengths good business? I think we would suggest that it's not. Anyway, the Savona pants come in 9 sizes in the regular length. They come in 6 sizes in the short leg and in 4 sizes in the longer leg. I've got to say that's pretty impressive, notwithstanding the fact that the customer in the shop is always going to want the one that Held don't offer. Anyway, that's the pants. Let's now try to sum it all up and tell you what we feel about the Savona as a combo, as a suit. What we'll do is compare it with some other drop liner suits that we offer that are similarly priced. There's not a lot about the Savona that's not to like, it's got to be admitted. It's extremely comfortable to wear. In terms of protection, you get a AA rating for abrasion resistance and level 2 armour. The venting, I've got to say, is perhaps not its strong point, but it does everything else that you would expect it to do. But what I want to do now is compare it with 3 other drop liner outfits that we offer. Now, one of these is the denier Carve Master, there's the Halvarsens Vindvalen, and there's Rucker's Comfort R. Now, both the Carve Master and Vindvalen, I've got to say, feel a little bit more plush, a little bit more premium than the Savona. But in other respects, the Savona blows them both into the weeds. The Held suit comes out at £525 for the jacket and £295 for the pants. So that's a total of £820. The Vindvalen from Halvarsens is quite a similar price. It's £460 for the jacket, £400 for the pants. So that's a total of £860, £40 more. The denier is £550 for the top half, £410 for the bottom half. So a little bit more, that's £960. The other contender here, of course, is the Rucker Comfort R. Now, one might suggest that it's a better product in many, or probably even in most respects. But at £800 for the jacket, £600 for the trousers, it hits a different price point at £1,400. But let's try and boil it all down and come to a view about how one might differentiate between these various offerings. Now, one of the things that I haven't mentioned so far is that the membrane in Savona is actually a Gore-Tex one. Now, most people will acknowledge that Gore's membranes simply work better. They are better. They tend to enjoy higher scores for both waterproofing and breathability. And so, as the Savona's membrane comes from Gore, one has to factor into any comparative analysis that it is guaranteed to be waterproof for life. As with many garments that are equipped with a Gore-Tex membrane, the Savona suit itself comes with a 5-year warranty. Now, I have no idea why this tends to be the case, but it applies to most Gore-Tex equipped garments. The only exception, as far as I can tell, seems to be Revit, who still only offer a slightly measly 2-year warranty, even on their Gore-Tex garments. Anyway, looking at this set of suits, the denier suit is easily the most stylish. It fits beautifully, it is supremely comfortable. This is a jacket that you can cut a dash in. It can make even the ugliest of us feel attractive. But it is only single A rated for abrasion resistance under EN 17092, even though it does have level 2 armour. The Carve Master's membrane is by Gore, so as with the Held outfit, it comes with a 5-year warranty. And obviously you get a lifetime one on waterproofing. But the trousers really let the denier package down. As trousers, they're fine, but as they only come in 1 leg length, they will not work on 50% of people. And as far as we're concerned, that's just, well, it's disappointing. It's barely acceptable. Halvarsens Vindvalen suit is new for 2025. We really like it. It feels a lot more expensive than it actually is. It's super comfortable, and the stretch in the outer fabric means that I think it's going to accommodate lots of shapes and sizes. It's AA rated for abrasion resistance under EN 17092, and it comes with a full suite of level 2 armour. I say a full suite, but it still doesn't have a back protector. It's a very well vented suit, and it has the best thermal liner of all of the jackets and pants that we're discussing here today. But the waterproof membrane is not from Gore. Now, as we've explained, drop liner membranes tend not to fail, so it may not be a big issue. But The warranty on the Vinvalan, because it doesn't have a Gore-Tex membrane, is just 3 years. 3 years for the membrane and 3 years for everything else, which makes the Halvarsons outfit the least impressive of all of the suits in this respect. Now, on the Vinvalan, the trousers come in 2 lengths. That's better than the Dainese 1, but not as good as the 3 that you get potentially from Held and Rucker. The other potential contender in this arena, as we have discussed, is the Rucker Comfort R. Now, you kind of expect premium pricing from Rucker, and there are a number of good reasons for this. But £1,400, it has to be admitted, really does put the Comfort R in a different market sector to the other suits. Still, here's what you should know. The Comfort R is only rated A for abrasion resistance under EN 17092, but as it comes with absolutely huge level 2 armour throughout, including in the back, this is still the suit that you'd want to be wearing if you went down the road. Now, the Comfort R's membrane is by Gore, so waterproofing is guaranteed for life. But unlike most other Gore-Tex brands, Rucker actually offers a 6-year warranty on its products, so it betters the others in that regard. Venting on the Comfort R is pretty respectable. There's stretch in the outer fabric, so it's a very comfortable suit to wear. The pants technically come in 3 leg lengths, but the UK importer only brings in 2 of them. However, very few people actually need a Rucker long leg because it's very, very long. What one cannot escape, though, is the feeling that the Rucker is put together in a more robust fashion than the other suits. Rucker's gear really is made for the long haul. But does that really justify the premium? Luckily, that's not for us to decide. All 4 of the suits under discussion here sit at the upper end of the market. Now, the appeal of the Dainese outfit is its pure Italianness. It really is super stylish. The Halvarsons Vinvalan ticks a lot of boxes, but its warranties mean that it's probably a bit more of a risk as far as reliability is concerned. Now, on one level, it's almost unfair to compare the 3 suits, the Held, the Halvarsons and the Dainese, with the Rucker suit. The finished suit, after all, is far more expensive, but it's the best made, it's got the best warranties, and in our view, despite its single A rating, it's still the most protective. And what that means is if you do big miles, it's probably still the one to go for. The Savona sits somewhere in the middle of this pack. If value was your guide, then it would be hard to justify the Halvarsons Vinvalan because of its warranties. The Held is a great package and, in our view, offers the best value for money. As ever, however, and as Graham used to say on Blind Date, the decision is yours. Well, I hope you thought the Savona was interesting. If you'd like to see more drop liner jackets or just more jackets, then visit the website motolegends.com. If you'd like to learn more about the Savona in particular, then if you click on one of the links on the screen, sometimes they're up there, sometimes they're down there, that will take you directly to the relevant page on the website. Now, when you're there, you can check out the spec in a little bit more detail, you can check availability, and obviously if you want to buy the Savona, you can do that there and then. Now, when you buy from us, we try to make the process simple, straightforward and risk-free as we possibly can. There's no delivery charge on any item of protective wear that you buy from us. Returns are totally free, and what's more, we give you a full 12 months in which to decide whether you do want to return something to us. Now, we have the best price promise in the business. Many years ago, John Lewis was rightly famed for its never knowingly undersold price promise. We go one stage better. If you can find any retailer selling something that we sell at a price that is lower than ours, we will beat that retailer's price by a full 10%. Now, there are a few terms and conditions associated with what we call our price beat. So if you are going to price beat us or attempt to price beat us, then I suggest you go over to the website and check out what those terms and conditions are. There's nothing, I assure you, that's particularly onerous. If in the future you'd like to see bulletins from us about new products, then if you go to the website, at the top of every page there's a piece of script that says newsletter sign up. If you click on that, within seconds you'll be in business. In the future you'll receive all of our email bulletins about new products. If, however, you prefer to get your information videographically, that is to say in this form, we'd be simply delighted if you wanted to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can do that by clicking on the button below. Finally, I'd like to make mention of our fabulous little shop here at Motor Legends. We're about a mile from the centre of Guildford, a mile from the railway station. And as I've suggested, it's a small shop, it's got a small footprint, but it is attached to our warehouse where we have almost £5 million worth of stock arranged over 3 stories. And that technically makes us the second largest motorcycle apparel shop in the country. But we'd like to think that we were not just about the amount of merchandise we have here in the building, we're all about service, we're all about personal fitting. If you want to check us out, visit Trustpilot. We have the highest 5-star ranking in the business. And when you come to see us, we'll serve you only the finest Italian illy coffee, or we'll serve you proper Yorkshire tea in a proper teapot. And who knows, if you're lucky, you might even get to sample one of our delicious motorcycle-shaped shortbread biscuits. Anyway, this has been Chris. I hope to talk to you again soon.